This is Ben Television News Roundup, a compilation of major stories in the week ending. I am Tunde Alabi, and thank you for staying tuned. The Prime Minister, David Cameron, has said that he desperately wants Scotland to remain in the UK, as he warned that independence is a leap in the dark that will punish future generations.
I care hugely about this extraordinary country, this United Kingdom that we've built together. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because I would be heartbroken if this family of nations that we've put together and that we've done such amazing things together, if this family of nations was torn apart. Sometimes, because it's an election, because it's a ballot, I think people can feel it's a bit like a general election, that you make a decision and 5 years later you can make another decision. If you're fed up with the effing Tories, give them a kick and then maybe we'll think again. This is totally different to a general election. This is a decision about not the next 5 years, it's a decision about the next century. And of course it's absolutely the Scottish people and the Scottish people alone who must make that choice. But I think it's really important everyone knows the scale of the choice being made. If Scotland were to separate itself from the United Kingdom, then a currency union between the rest of the United Kingdom and an independent Scotland with an independent government, an independent fiscal and monetary policies, that can't work. And so the advice has been very clear that we should be clear to people in Scotland: if you leave the United Kingdom, you leave the currency union, you leave the pound.
Former Prime Minister Gordon Brown, in a special message through a Better Together advertisement, said Scotland will do better staying in the Union.
I love Scotland. It's as simple as that. I'm proud of our history and our culture. I'm proud we created a Scottish Parliament. I'm proud we're increasing the Parliament's powers. And I'm proud too that we share and cooperate as part of the United Kingdom. And that means more jobs, better healthcare, higher pensions, more security. I'm proud we stand for social justice. Our unity is our strength. And I'm voting for my children's future and all Scottish children's future. And that's why I'm voting no.
Meanwhile, Scotland First Minister Alex Salmond has described as last-minute attempt by the Prime Minister to save face.
The corporation tax does not depend on registered office, but on economic activity. For example, our estimates on corporation tax for Scotland at the present moment don't include the profits of NatWest or any of the Royal Bank's operations anywhere else in the UK, just because the brass plaque is in Scotland. That's not how corporation tax works. Now, I've seen a number of quotes from various people who should know a great deal better, but that's how corporation tax is allocated. It's not allocated where your registered office is, it's allocated on economic activity. That's the rules of corporation tax. In terms more generally of this issue, let's go into the generality. I think the people of Scotland have moved beyond these warnings and scaremongerings, particularly when there is a clear evidence that while the Prime Minister was busy telling us what a wonderful nation we were, his business advisor was busy desperately trying to get any business he possibly could to say something negative about independence. I thought it was quite interesting yesterday, and I know this might be news to some of the metropolitan media, that the warnings which were released yesterday were actually a recycling of things from months ago. Bob Dudley, for example, if I remember correctly, made exactly the same statement in February, and Standard Life made exactly the same statement 3 months ago. I know that it was news to some people, but it certainly wasn't news to the people of Scotland. But let me turn very specifically to the question of the Royal Bank of Scotland. I've read you the statement to staff released this morning from the Chief Executive of the Royal Bank. I've read the whole thing, so in the relevant paragraph, just let me briefly remind you. It is my view as Chief Executive that any decision to move a registered headquarters should have no impact on everyday banking services. This is a technical procedure regarding the location of our registered head office. Based on current strategy, it is not intention to move operations or jobs. It's not a matter of operations or jobs, it is a technical matter in the opinion of the Chief Executive of the Royal Bank of Scotland.
Poll results show that both the no and yes camps are very close, with the no camp having a slim edge. US President Barack Obama has announced his intention to authorize a strike against the Islamic State both in Syria and Iraq. Obama stated this in a nationwide address, stating that the US is ready to take out the Islamic State wherever they are.
As Commander-in-Chief, my highest priority is the security of the American people. Over the last several years, we have consistently taken the fight to terrorists who threaten our country. We took out Osama bin Laden and much of al-Qaeda's leadership in Afghanistan and Pakistan. We've targeted al-Qaeda's affiliate in Yemen and recently eliminated the top commander of its affiliate in Somalia. We've done so while bringing more than 140,000 American troops home from Iraq and drawing down our forces in Afghanistan, where our combat mission will end later this year. Thanks to our military and counterterrorism professionals, America is safer. Still, we continue to face a terrorist threat. We can't erase every trace of evil from the world, and small groups of killers have the capacity to do great harm. That was the case before 9/11, and that remains true today. And that's why we must remain vigilant as threats emerge. At this moment, the greatest threats come from the Middle East and North Africa, where radical groups exploit grievances for their own gain. And one of those groups is ISIL, which calls itself the Islamic State. Now let's make two things clear. ISIL is not Islamic. No religion condones the killing of innocents, and the vast majority of ISIL's victims have been Muslim. And ISIL is certainly not a state. It was formerly al-Qaeda's affiliate in Iraq and has taken advantage of sectarian strife and Syria's civil war to gain territory on both sides of the Iraq-Syrian border. It is recognized by no government, nor by the people it subjugates. ISIL is a terrorist organization, pure and simple, and it has no vision other than the slaughter of all who stand in its way. In a region that has known so much bloodshed, these terrorists are unique in their brutality. They execute captured prisoners. They kill children. They enslave, rape, and force women into marriage. They threatened a religious minority with genocide. And in acts of barbarism, they took the lives of two American journalists, Jim Foley and Stephen Sotloff. So ISIL poses a threat to the people of Iraq and Syria and the broader Middle East, including American citizens, personnel, and facilities. If left unchecked, these terrorists could pose a growing threat beyond that region, including to the United States. While we have not yet detected specific plotting against our homeland, ISIL leaders have threatened America and our allies. Our intelligence community believes that thousands of foreigners, including Europeans and some Americans, have joined them in Syria and Iraq. Trained and battle-hardened, these fighters could try to return to their home countries and carry out deadly attacks. I know many Americans are concerned about these threats. Tonight, I want you to know that the United States of America is meeting them with strength and resolve. Last month, I ordered our military to take targeted action against ISIL to stop its advances. Since then, we've conducted more than 150 successful airstrikes in Iraq. These strikes have protected American personnel and facilities, killed ISIL fighters, destroyed weapons, and given space for Iraqi and Kurdish forces to reclaim key territory. These strikes have also helped save the lives of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. But this is not our fight alone. American power can make a decisive difference, but we cannot do for Iraqis what they must do for themselves. Nor can we take the place of Arab partners in securing their region. And that's why I've insisted that additional U.S. action depended upon Iraqis forming an inclusive government, which they have now done in recent days. So tonight, with a new Iraqi government in place, and following consultations with allies abroad and Congress at home, I can announce that America will lead a broad coalition to roll back this terrorist threat. Our objective is clear. We will degrade and ultimately destroy ISIL through a comprehensive and sustained counterterrorism strategy. First, we will conduct a systematic campaign of airstrikes against these terrorists. Working with the Iraqi government, we will expand our efforts beyond protecting our own people and humanitarian missions so that we're hitting ISIL targets as Iraqi forces go on offense. Moreover, I've made it clear that we will hunt down terrorists who threaten our country wherever they are. That means I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL in Syria as well as Iraq. This is a core principle of my presidency. If you threaten America, you will find no safe haven. Second, we will increase our support to forces fighting these terrorists on the ground. In June, I deployed several hundred American service members to Iraq to assess how we can best support Iraqi security forces. Now that those teams have completed their work and Iraq has formed a government, we will send an additional 475 service members to Iraq. As I've said before, these American forces will not have a combat mission.
Let's take the story from Nigeria. As Nigeria's legislative chambers resume after 2 months of break, the National Assembly is reported to be facing daunting tasks ahead of it. In this report, Ben TV Muyiwa Bamidele examines some of the issues before the legislators at the settle down for legislative businesses.
This is National Assembly complex, which houses the Senate and the House of Representatives, the two chambers that made up the legislative arms of government in Nigeria. As National Assembly member return back to the red and green chamber next week, several national issues will be getting the attention of the legislative arms of government. President Goodluck Jonathan is expected to send the report of the just concluded National Conference as an executive bill to the National Assembly for consideration. Issue of the ranging security challenge in the northern part of the country will not be left out as the National Assembly resumes to its legislative duty. Petroleum Industry Bill (PIB), which have been pending before the two chambers of the National Assembly, it is expected that the Petroleum Industry Bill will turn around the oil and gas sector of the economy when passed into law. Among many other items before the National Assembly is the issue of Nigerian Constitution review. Nigerians are of high expectation as National Assembly resume. From National Assembly Complex Abuja, Muyiwa Bamidele reporting for Ben TV.
From politics to economy, to business, technology, the totality of what makes man is what we bring to you here on this sponge. We give you the information that you need, from business to economy, to politics, to technology. And that's what we do here on this sponge, from the beginning to the end. And that is why we are Ben. Keep watching this sponge from Ben Television. And today, I'll be your host. And this is all we have for you on News Roundup today. Thank you for being part of it. I am Tunde Alabi. Do have a very good week ahead of you. Bye.